Well, how we doing, everybody? This is JT at Rubber City Motoring. This video is going to be the first of many, and I'm pretty excited about it, even though it's like 10 o'clock at night. Everybody's in bed. It's been a long day. Got some sunburn. I'm excited to tell you about this, though. This is, it been, honestly, I don't even know, quite a long time coming. Getting a new car in the garage. It wasn't a planned thing. It wasn't something that, I committed to do and, did the thing like that. It was kind of just like, it sort of just like right there and you see the car and then that's it. Let me go back just a little bit and then we'll see everything that's going on here. Previously, if you go back a few years, you've been following along, you haven't been following along, whatever. I was a two-car kind of person, always have been, because we have winter here in Ohio. So all the fun stuff that you like to drive, rear-wheel drive, V8s, anything like that, that's in my opinion, my favorite, the best cars to own. Can't do them year-round here, so you gotta have something in the winter. So I always had, a Camaro and a Jeep. And then it went into, the Camaro was kind of not really working for my family situation. So I got into the Impala game, which still have it. But, the Impala has been around for a while, and along with the Trailblazer SS. And I've been toying with the idea of moving on from the Impala. Kind of, seeing what's next. And it was, a lot of different things kept popping up in my head. Going back to a newer Camaro, like an SS or a ZL1, something like that. Then it went to GTOs. Those are great deals, great cars. LS1, LS2, the 4 seats. I can still haul the kids around. It's more so if you don't have kids, you don't get this, but if you do, you understand. It's a big difference. Putting kids in the back of like a Mustang or a Camaro with car seats and without car seats. When you have to go rear facing on those car seats, it eliminates so many options for you. I really can't drive a car, any of the cars we have, with the rear facing on the driver's side, even the Impala. Then I went into, gosh, what else? I was thinking, I'll get a G8 or a Chevy SS. I can still keep the 4 doors and haul everybody around, and that'll still be fun. And then, if you watch a few videos back, years ago, you'll see I did some track events in my dad's Z06. He has an 04 Z06. Love the car. It's an amazing car. And he let me drive it in the fall, and I was like, man, I need one of these things. What I missed was shifting gears, whipping around a turn, just that kind of having fun with a car again. Because the Impala is neat as it is, it's a big sedan with a bunch of power. The Trailblazer is just a Trailblazer SS. You can't just, toss the thing around and have fun with it. So fast forward to, I was like, I gotta find a Z06. The problem with that is my dad's Z06 has like 9,000 miles on it. It's like perfect. It's in my level of expectations were way too high. It's like, man, I'm never going to find one this nice. And if I do, it's going to be 30 grand. They've gone up, or they're beat to snot. So I kind of gave up. And, my thoughts were always like, well, maybe just a regular C5. That would be cool because, they're cheap. A C5 Corvette can be had anywhere from, low end to 9 grand up to, 20 grand in that range. I was like, maybe that's what I need to look for. And what I started to find was that they all have a removable roof, either glass or, painted. Didn't want that. I just really didn't. I don't like convertibles, anything like that. So I'm like, guys, just kind of gave up. And then basically, I just happened to look in late January on cars.com, and I found this. So if you'll excuse the mess in the garage and just focus on the vehicle here, this is the latest car to join the fleet here at Rubber City Motoring. This is a 1999 Corvette. It is not just any Corvette. What I found so cool about this one was right here on the back. Let me explain this to you. Let me give you a little bit of history on this car. The C5 came out in 1997, debuted January at the Detroit Auto Show, I believe. It had a what you want to call fastback. You know, the glass was longer, went all the way back, and that's most of the ones you see like this. 1998 came, they released the convertible. This being 1999, this was the third model that was attached to the C5 lineup. They called it the Hardtop. It's become known as the FRC, or fixed roof coupe, because this roof doesn't come off. It's fixed. It's not going anywhere. And I love that because there's no leaks, there's no creaking, there's no removable roof. And I just don't care to have a convertible. I've never really wanted one. I had one on my Jeep Wrangler, and it's fine, but not on this type of car. What's funny is you look at all the marketing and all the brochures and that, which I'll probably do a video showing you some of the stuff I have on this car, just because I'm kind of, you know, nerdy like that. I like to read about what was going on with the car when it was new and how they promoted it and that. This was the first Corvette with a hardtop like this, without a removable roof, since 1967. So go back to the C2, the early Stingray, and you know, that one that was the last one. And I didn't really realize that all the C3s had a removable roof. All the C4s did as well. So very interesting it took this long to get back to this. But this was one of the main reasons I bought this car. If I would have found this and it would have been a hatchback or a convertible, I probably would have passed. The line on this is unmistakable. And that's the first view I saw when it was online, when I said I was just looking randomly through cars.com. And I want to show you one more thing here before we move on. One of the cool parts about this car is it actually has a trunk, kind of like the convertible did, but it is like I said, a non-removable roof. Kind of notchback Mustang style window, if you want to refer to something like that. And then the trunk type area there. Then the back end's pretty much the same. So we'll call this the base, the standard Corvette C5. You know, a few different options were on this, which I'll explain, but this was 2 years, a 1999 and a 2000. Various color options, not as well appointed as the standard C5, which I love. I'm a huge fan of this car in so many different capacities and reasons and things like that, which I'll explain. So then in 01, the Z06 came out, the 385 horse, and then 02 to 04 was the 405 horse one. Now, those are out there and they're neat cars. I would love a Z06, but really, I mean, for my amount of time driving this car, for not being able to haul anybody in the back, and really just to, you know, mess around with, this is really, I mean, I'm not justifying it, but I am. This is really all I need for me. Same power plant, same drivetrain for the most part as my Camaro, which was, in my life so far, the most reliable, fun car I've ever owned. Standard LS1, 345 horsepower, 6-speed in the back, rear mounted. They're connected with a torque tube. If you don't know anything about these cars, you know, just obviously look at the thousands of other great YouTube videos out there on these things. I do want to show you a couple things in here before we move on. So the fixed roof coupe was all manual. That was one of the requirements for it. Over the 2 years, the 99 and the 2000, the options did sort of change and come and go and things like that. You could have got it with Bose audio, which this one has. I was excited about that, even though you read negative reviews about it. This one does have the manual climate control, which, if my memory serves me correct, 99 had the manual, then 2000 you could have opted for the fancy dual zone. And I am so happy about that. Less motors, less dampers, all that garbage under the dash, a simple Chevy Malibu looking climate control. tape deck on this one, so naturally excited about that. But in the trunk, there is a 6-disc changer, so we have that going. The other thing, too, is the seats in this were just the standard seats. They weren't the sport seats, the better ones, anything like that. This one does not have heads-up display. As far as I recall, I did all this a few months ago. This one did not have the option for it, but I think 2000 did. The other fun part, it did have the active handling add-on put onto it, but it doesn't have that knob for the, I think it's F45. What's cool about the fixed roof coupe, the hardtop on these 2 years, is they all had Z51 suspension. Springs, or I'm sorry, the leaf springs, there are springs. The shocks, the sway bars are all Z51 spec. And there also is the power steering cooler that's built into the front up there as well. So pretty neat car overall. I mean, it's definitely, you know, very simple. It's not your loaded, you know, C7 that you can pick up now, which I actually like. I like not dealing with all the garbage. I found this, believe it or not, in Delaware. Let me explain that story. I want to get out of here. It's kind of hot. So I won't go crazy into this story. I mean, if you're watching this, this is probably a lengthy one. I found it on cars.com, as I said earlier, and it was in Delaware, of all places. And weirdly enough, it was on a Chevy dealership actually posted the car to cars.com, and it was in their showroom. I was like, well, that's weird. What's going on with this? So called the dealership. They put me in touch with somebody that worked there actually owned this car, which is super exciting because I called and I talked to the current owner. It wasn't like, you know, finding out, you know, it changed hands and it's been here. We found it in, you know, California. I actually got to talk to the guy that traded it in. He actually traded it on a C6. 37,000 miles on the clock. So, you know, you do all the steps. Not get too excited. Let's take it easy. What's the miles? Okay, good. Not bad. The second thing, though, is it is still for sale. This was back in, man, late January, early February, and it was right around when we had like 3 feet of snow here. And I was like, well, this is silly. How am I going to even get this car? So we started talking. He told me a few things which are pretty cool. He wasn't the original owner. He was like number 3 or 4. 37,000 miles. It spent its life in Pennsylvania. He told me, his words, exact words, this car looks like it has 5,000 miles on it. And I was like, sold. That's great. That's perfect. And my next thing, which I really, really like doing, and I like starting fresh, what's been done to it? He said, completely stock except for a Borla exhaust. I go, okay, now we're talking. It's, you know, not too bad. That's an easy thing to fix if you need to, or that's a cool upgrade. Not bad. He did tell me fresh oil change, and another cool thing, brand new tires. That's a big deal. No run flats, just standard, you know, tires, because this car came factory with run flats. I'm not a run flat fan, and you know, most of the times on these cars, people are running with low miles like that. They're running the originals if they're in that low miles. It happens, and sometimes it doesn't too. So another thing, tick it off the list. Probably can just drive it home depending on the weather. So we worked it all out, figured it out. Went to Delaware one night, and about 7 hours from here in Ohio. Went and saw it in the morning, drove it, and all was well. But from the get-go, problems. Let me explain. So as I'm doing a walk around here for you, this color is actually the pewter, which I'm fine with. I actually was looking for that color on my Camaro when I was in the search, but couldn't find it. So as I said, there was problems literally as we were leaving the dealership. Before I even signed off on it, there was problems. And they seemed minor, but I didn't understand what was going on. I pulled into the dealership. It said something about active handling. All the tire sensors weren't working. Gosh, it was just like kind of acting weird. And the guy's like, I really don't know. He actually had it for about 8 months or so. And then he decided to trade it in on a C6. So I'm like, okay, well, it's still a really, really clean car. So not 5 minutes after leaving the dealership, my dad calls me. He goes, hey, your brake lights aren't working. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. What is going on with this car? It just seemed like a electrical nightmare from the get-go, right as I'm leaving. So he just followed me the whole way home, no brake lights. I'm checking and the other thing was the blinkers didn't work. So I'm like Googling while trying to drive a car you just bought. Couldn't figure it out. I'm messing with the hazard switch because that causes problems for these things. Drove the whole way home with no brake lights. Basically, my dad just followed me, and that was it. So, as I was saying, this car it's going to be driven, but I mean, I can't daily this to my job. It would just look weird. And I mean, it's an old car to me, and it's technically costs less than everybody's car in the parking lot, but this just has a look to it that still looks like a Corvette. I mean, this is a neat looking car in my opinion, and I'll kind of get into my history with C5s a little bit here, but I mean, it's super clean. It's super fun. I've already started, we'll say the little upgrade game. I mean, I've got the little cup holders in the back already. Lily's riding around with me, my daughter. Believe it or not, my wife still hasn't ridden with me because we can't leave the kids here. It actually has a trunk, which I love. Got the divider in the back there. It's fun to get a new car right around your birthday. And I've done little things like I've changed the shocks on these just to make it pop up real quick. By the way, finding out about, I'm sorry I'm rambling here about all this. There's a lot to talk about. I got a new hazard light switch thinking that was it. It wasn't. Found out previous owner had satellite radio installed in this, which is fine. Everybody, can do what they want to their car. It looked to me like when that was all installed, it blew a bunch of fuses. So I had no power outlet in the console working. I had no brake lights, and I had blinkers, no brake lights. Found a couple missing fuses, removed the satellite radio, we're good to go. Finally, the last little issue that arose when we got home, made it all the way back, drove through the snow a little bit. My dad noticed as I'm pulling it into his garage, just because his was easier to get into, smoke coming out of this portion of the hood. We popped the hood thinking it's overheating. It was the battery smoking. I want to say that battery was, gosh, I got to look at the Carfax again, but it was at least like 8 years old. So found out the battery was bad. Dealership was cool enough to replace it. Just sent me a check for it. And that fixed all of the electrical issues along with changing those fuses out. We're good to go. No issues whatsoever. The only thing I've really had to do other than that stuff was it had the typical rocking seat. I did buy the $10 kit on eBay and fix that. So, but other than that, I mean, it's not clean inside because I drive the thing around. I mean, it's just like a, drive around, and if I don't need to haul anybody, I'm taking this. The funny thing about this one, I've never used these before, these early C5 fobs. They're thicker than what I'm used to. They're kind of funny and chunky feeling. So, I mean, this isn't like a stretch for me of a car as far as like owning this or, getting into this. I had people say like, oh, you're not old enough to buy a Corvette. You're not in your midlife crisis. You're not, what are you getting a Corvette for? You got little kids. What's funny to me is there has been a Corvette in my dad's garage my whole life. My dad owns a 1966 Corvette. He has since like 1981. And, then he has his Z06 he got within the past 5-6 years. So to me, it's just funny, like that, getting one and putting it here in the garage. I don't know, there was something about it. It just felt like, wow, this feels right. This feels, cool to do this. It's like, for me, it's exciting. Now, talking about, my cars and my history and stuff, and I've said this in other videos, the Impala, that really was one of the first cars that made me think like, wow, this is really neat. Like my dad got that when I was in 8th grade, and riding in that car and seeing my dad work on it, and I got to do driver training in it and all that stuff. It just made me like actually like cars, like that experience of driving. The first car I really wanted to own though, and like when you first saw it come out, was the C5. This came out in '97, and I'll put the picture somewhere here. There was this one picture I remember seeing the first time I ever saw it, and I was like, oh my gosh, that thing looks like a rocket ship. It's just so cool looking. And you can call it whatever you want to now. I still think it holds up. It's such a neat looking car. You don't see cars with pop-up headlights anymore. This was one of the last, and it's just cool looking. It's small, it's zippy, it's powerful. And people say like, oh, it's only got 350-ish horsepower, a little bit less, but the hardtop weighs like 3,100 pounds. It's not heavy at all. So it's a neat car all around. You know, when we got it home and these little things happen, I was like, okay, there's got to be help out there. And I joined all the Corvette groups on Facebook, found videos online. The following on this is crazy to me. A good example, my Impala. I wanted a couple spare wheels. They're not like hard to find, but they're not like, I can't find one in Akron here and go pick one up, which I actually did. It took me like 5 years, but I found somebody that had them here. The Corvette, if I want to find wheels for it, I can literally find 4 different options within 20 minutes here. It's just crazy to me how Corvette parts are just plentiful. And I kind of realized that, like, well, the Impala SS, the Camaro SS, those were the top tier of their lineup. And there weren't as many. There weren't as common. But, like, every Corvette was top tier as far as, like, the things go. Now, this one doesn't have a lot of the options that some of the other ones have, but I love that about it. And that's less to break. I did mention earlier this had a Borla on it. It was a Borla S-Type. It was basically, if you look at the Borla lineup for this car, there was three models for it and then different tips and stuff. This was basically the loudest Borla on there with the oval tips. And I'll put a picture on here on the screen to show you. I thought I could deal with it. Ugh, it was horrible. It was too much for me. And I'm not saying that because I'm like, overly annoyed. It just... When I like to leave in this car, I didn't want to wake the whole house. I didn't want to like let everybody know what I'm doing, and that's what that exhaust did. It was just super loud. I couldn't hear the radio, and I still like a little bit of sound in the car. So what I did was I searched and searched and searched, and I found locally, about an hour away, guy selling a Z06 titanium, which bolts right on, and I love the sound of that exhaust, which I'll play a clip of that here right now. That's my dad's car, and I didn't know it sounded like that till I mounted the camera on the back. It is so cool. So I need to film this car's exhaust with the same way, and I know it's not LS6 versus LS1, but it was half as quiet as the Borla. The Borla was double as loud as this. So where's this car going? What's the plan with it? The plan is just to enjoy it. I mean, it's going to be here in the garage. I mean, I'm going to obviously take it to some track days, have fun with it, take it on road trips. And, that leaves me to what to do with the Impala. I don't want to say it's like sad. It's sad because the history with the Impala. But at the same time, with the headaches and the work and the drive time and what it became, I'm not so sad because I can't take the Impala on a long trip. I could. I'm not saying you can't. But it gets like 13 miles to the gallon. It is a pig on gas. It hauls everybody in it fine. It does a great job. It's comfortable. The Impala gets more looks and more discussion of any car I've ever owned if you love that sort of thing. But I've got a few things to do to the Impala here, but I am pretty sure I'm going to be listing it for sale this summer and, just getting those last few videos out there. So I don't know if you have interest in it or, you've followed the build on the Impala, shoot me a message and we can talk and, go with that and see what happens. But I don't know. I've really always wanted one of these, and I don't necessarily need 2 cars to haul everybody around. That's kind of what the Trailblazer's for. So, but yeah, so that's where I'm at right now. So that's it. I appreciate you sticking with me through that rambling and the introduction of the new car to the garage. I actually have quite a bit filmed for it already, so you'll be seeing those videos trickling out, and just every little thing that I do to it. I'm probably not going to go crazy with it, because what I've learned with the Impala, and I've learned with a lot of other cars, it works pretty darn good until you start messing around with it and ruining it. And that's not necessarily fault of me or the parts or anything. Sometimes it's just the factory had things really well worked out, and with only 40,000 miles on it, well, it's like 38, it's fine right now. It doesn't need anything. Although I will kind of give you a little teaser. I am working really, really hard to change out those wheels. I talked to the owner, the previous owner, and even everybody else about these. These are the wheels that nobody likes. They match the time period, and they match the car, and they're correct, and they're super clean, super nice wheels. But I kind of want something different. So any ideas you have below, comment below. Let me know what you think on those. I kind of have an idea of what I want to do, but it's just hasn't come to fruition yet. So that's what's happening here in the garage. Thank you for watching. Subscribe for more on this product reviews. Got the Corvette stuff coming here, and still more on the Impala. And the Trailblazer's still around as well. So see you next time, and have a good one.